Thank you everybody for coming and spending some time here with us today. I'm very excited about this platform. I think it's going to be a great thing, especially for the fire service as far as people keeping their drive going, protecting their passion, just having the ability to reach out to like-minded individuals that you normally would not be able to talk with. So it's a cool deal, and I'm very excited about it. So, like I mentioned before, I push record. Today, I'm using the Clubhouse platform to record the Monday Mindset Check episode of the Crew First Culture podcast, and more than happy to have anybody that's in the audience come up and talk with me about it. But today, we're going to talk about our small circle, our circle of influence, and the importance of keeping our focus there. And this is a very kind of a personal topic right now because it is a lesson that I am trying to really focus on. I've at times got myself in trouble because I lose sight of that and I start looking too wide. I start branching out too far, trying to do too many things, trying to be a part of something bigger than I should be. And from a distance, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. You know, you're trying to do bigger things. You're trying to do more things. But you only have so much of anything, energy, time, whatever. And so the wider you go, the broader that spectrum gets, the less you're focusing on the more important things. And like I said, that has gotten me in trouble quite a bit because I think it's the ADHD. I don't know, but I tend to run myself too thin. I guess is a good way to say it. And so, that being said, you know, something else that's come about that's kind of a personal thing with me as far as this topic goes is, you know, I've been with my department for 19 years. I have invested. I think it's safe to say I have invested myself in that place a lot. I have put a lot into that place, and I care about it. You know, 19 years is a long time to be somewhere. I want the best for it. And so every once in a while, even though I really enjoy what I'm doing, you know, I'm a station officer, I love having the ability to focus on making my small circle, which is my station, my crew, a good place. You know, that is awesome that I have that ability. If it's failing, if the attitude is bad, if the morale is down, it's my fault. You know, I have that opportunity to kind of steer it in a good way. And so, that being said, I love that, but me being me, I tend to start kind of drifting from that. I tend to start wanting to do more. You know, okay, four other people on my crew, that's great to be able to influence them and to try to make them better. But I have a problem of wanting more. You know, okay, I could do better. I could do better for the shift. I could do better for the department. And so I try to do things that involve the shift, involve the department, and I am hit with some pretty substantial walls. And so, that being said, that's where some frustration starts building, that's where some resentment starts building, you know, on and on and on. And this is where I get myself in trouble because I get frustrated that I cannot help more people. I cannot be involved more in the department type size of influence. And so, you know, again, that manifests itself in ways that aren't healthy and aren't good. And so that's where I'm talking about. You know, if I could just get back, and that's where I'm at. Like I said, this is a personal problem right here that I'm dealing with currently, and that's just it's good though because it's allowing me to really put the focus back on my crew where it should be as a station officer. And so, you know, we could talk about stuff like that. You very easily can transition this into a family slash work balance conversation as well, because that's the same thing, and that's another thing that I struggle with is I just love being involved in the fire service and everything that we're doing. But again, you only got so much time. You've only got so much of you, and so the more you do, the more you spread yourself out, the less is left for your family. And that, again, to be honest, has led to some problems for me. I have had to really be intentional about where my priorities are at and where my time goes and all that. So, this is a great conversation. I think that I'm really excited to have a couple people up here to talk to before I let LJ or Greg say something. Anybody that's come in since I last said it, if you have something to say, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you up and you can talk. Just know that we are recorded and it will be put out on the Crew First Culture podcast. But thank you guys very much for joining us. LJ, Greg, very excited to have you up here to talk and kind of get your input on any of this. Either one of you, go ahead.
Go ahead, LJ. I'll pick up in a second. All right, thanks, man. Well, hey, Jeremy, I'm a little bit late. We don't have school. My kids don't have school today, and I'm home from the firehouse, so I got neighborhood kids running around, and I forgot about it and joined late, so I apologize about that. I was wanting to catch this, but
No problem. We
uh,
just started. Go ahead.
so hey, I want to jump in on something that you kind of brought up regarding family and priorities, and um, you know, it's hard to judge. It's hard to keep the focus at home on your family when you're home because guys like you and myself and probably the people that are on this show right now, we just love the job and we want so much good to come out of it. And that's something I struggle with as a firefighter is knowing when to cut it off and just be home and just be a husband and a father. And, I think that if we can do that and when we're home, we focus our attention on our families, I think in the long run, it's going to make us better firefighters and for guys like you, better company officers. So then jump ahead to the firehouse. You know, Jeremy, man, if all you got to do is keep the focus on your crew for the time being, that's what you have to do. And here's what's going to happen. You guys are going to get called to a big alarm fire one of these days, and your crew's going to show up, and you guys are going to do some work. And about 2 shifts later, the other crews that were on scene are going to be like, man, did you guys see Sanders' crew the other day just come in and do that job? There wasn't a bunch of talking, but there's a bunch of doing. And so if that's what you got to do is to keep your focus on your crew and that's what you work with, that's what you got to do because eventually other crews are going to get tired of getting outworked by your crew. And if nothing else, they're either going to hate it or they're going to jump on board and be like, you know what, guys, our citizens deserve what that crew does every day. And sometimes it takes some bad attitudes to get good. And it takes guys like you and your crew going out. And this is like all across the fire service. I see it all the time in my firehouse too, and my part-time job. But it seems like there's always that one crew that is just so solid with training. They sit down and eat together. They train together. They know each other. And that morale and that culture, sometimes that change takes time. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you just got to be humble and you just got to know that, hey, I'm going to have a target on my back because I want to be that leader that's remembered for being a good man, a good leader, a good ambassador for the fire service. And that target on your back can be tough sometimes, but you can't let that go. You can't let that bother you. And so just have that humility as a leader just to keep pushing forward. And I think as a fire service, we just do that, we'd be in such a better place. And I think it's getting better. But it just takes all of us to really step up to the plate and just do our job because we deserve it together and the people we serve, they deserve it wholeheartedly because that's what we're here for. And so, man, you just got to keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. And to be honest, kind of what you just mentioned is something we basically lived out of last week. It was, I've got a 5-person crew. All the other four guys on my crew are testing for promotions within the next month. One of them is probably literally taking the written test right now. One person taking the lieutenant's test, and the other three are taking driver's tests. And so we've been doing a lot of preparation for that, and part of that is when we have the right manpower. I'll sit in the back as a firefighter. My driver will ride out in the officer spot, and one of the guys testing for driver will drive. And so you got basically almost the entire crew riding somewhere where they're not supposed to officially, but it has been a awesome tool for us to get experience and get experience in probably the safest way possible, because that my driver, I have total confidence in him. He does the job when I'm not there, so it's not like I'm concerned about it, but I'm right there. On that fire, I was one of the firefighters that went in with him. So you put him in a spot to where he's in charge, but you also give him a very close kind of phone a friend almost, if you will, if something were to happen, and nothing, I don't expect anything like that to happen, but it's just a cool situation. And so, like I said, we got a fire first day of last tour. It was a good first in fire. The firefighter that rode out as a driver did a great job pumping. First time he's ever done it, he did a great job. The other firefighter that was his very first fire period to go inside on, so that was awesome. And then my driver got a first in interior attack as an officer when he's not even an officer yet. And so it was so cool to see it all play out, and that's exactly kind of the feedback from us, some other people, is that's a great opportunity that you're kind of doing with the crew there, and that's I'm glad you said that, because it is cool. And when I say that I struggle with kind of keeping my focus on my crew, I do not mean that I am not satisfied with that. I just have a problem of kind of continuing to want to do more, I guess, is my biggest problem. So when I pull that back, and when I get back into focus with what I'm supposed to be doing in that small circle, man, it's a good deal, and I am really proud and lucky to be a part of the crew that I am right now, because the work that we've been doing to change the culture and do good things, it's starting to be visible, and that is such a cool thing, because culture it's so slow to change. Sometimes you never notice it happening, and I haven't really noticed it until just the past few weeks. Had some changes happen, and just it's starting to become visible, and I just love that is the case. And so yeah, I appreciate that, LGA. You're right on. What do you got, Greg?
Oh, man, I appreciate you letting me up here. And the deal that you're talking about is mentorship, 100%, right? And that the fire service needs so much more of that. I see so often that we get this checklist, and they they're given a 2-week class on a relief position, or this is how to do this deal, and then when it's their turn to step up, or the spot's open the day, they just you get put into it and you're expected to perform. And we've been doing something relatively the same with my backseat. I run a 3-man engine. I'm currently the driver of, and my backseat firefighter is a very new relief driver. And so during the week, he steps up and drives. I'll sit right behind him in the back seat. He has a question, he has an issue. He gets an answer real quick from me or the company officer, and it's just helping develop him. He's getting wheel time. We're going through scenarios. We'll go to a building. We'll stretch lines. He'll pump, and just developing some muscle memory before it's time to perform and time for the real deal. So what you're doing is, I mean, man, that is, the fire service just needs so much more of that, where you just take that time to put those people in those positions whenever they get
a chance at it and give them some wheel time, give them some seat time, let them make some decisions, and then you've got that person right there in the back seat to fall back on and answer questions for them. And LJ brought up how family can sometimes end up taking a back seat to some of our drives, and I think that anybody that's sitting in this room listening can probably relate to that. And it is hard. You'll come home and you'll have something that happened at the firehouse or on your department, or you're working for something, or you're striving to get something done, or you got a big project that you're pushing for, or you're just upset because sometimes when you're passionate and you're driving hard, people don't see things your way and you get tired of running into walls. And I know my wife, she's had to just be a good listener more often than not and let me vent out a little bit. So it does take a toll, and sometimes we need to turn that kind of stuff off, be home, enjoy your family. Because if you let your family go, then being a fireman isn't gonna stay very good very long. But that's all I've got to start with. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like I said, man, the family aspect is definitely something that I want to involve in this conversation, because me personally, I'm a big family person. I know both of you are as well. And I love speaking about things like this that are not only pertinent and good conversations about the fire service, but they're also just universal through life. You can apply this to all aspects of life, and especially to family, and especially with us. I assume most everybody in the room are firefighters. It's some type of first responders. We get passionate about our job because it is such a great job. We are a part of something so special. So that's not a bad thing. But when it can get bad is when we allow that passion to override everything else that should be important in our life. And I don't have to get into stories about that. Anybody that's involved in the fire service for any length of time has either personally dealt with that situation or seen it for sure, and probably even both, because that's just the way it is. It's just such a, and I don't even know what it is about the fire service outside of it's just a great job, like I said, that it's easy to kind of get fired up about. But man, you can truly lose yourself in the fire service, and getting involved in this social media stuff and podcasting and conferences, and getting on some type of a presentation or lecture tour. I mean, it's crazy the amount of time that could get sucked up if you just allow it to happen and aren't intentional about where it's going. So yes, I really, the family aspect of this conversation is definitely important. Got Taylor up here. Want to say hi to her, and we'll kind of, if you got anything to say, go ahead.
Hey Jeremy, thanks for letting me up here. I'm excited to join in on this conversation. Overall, I want to say, first of all, I'm definitely in that same situation of looking too big at the moment, and I have to reel myself back in more often than not, just to kind of refocus again and again. And my husband keeps constantly saying, "Hey, come back to our station, come back to making sure you're taking care of our guys first, and before I try to go out there and help everybody else." But some of the biggest changes, I think, the biggest push forward in each department that I've seen actually comes more from, if you focus in on those smaller tasks, those smaller duties, or whatever you want to fix. If you focus in, then you, more often than not, you actually end up inspiring others to focus in on their little tasks. And then overall, your entire department then just starts growing because everyone's taking in one little thing they're working on, instead of like trying to take on an entire, let's say, recruitment or mentorship push by yourself for the entire department or whatnot. If you work on one little section of that and make that really great, most of the time, just from what I've seen in my personal life and with the department and stuff, just people start to follow suit, not on purpose. They just start to either get inspired or they are, I don't know a better word for it there, but not necessarily jealous, but they just want to do it too. They start seeing what you're doing, and they don't want you to be the only one. They want to be able to have that recognition with you almost. And so they are pushed to do something as well. So that's my little take on all this at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, exactly what you're saying. It's just fun, you know, like a crew that is building camaraderie and teamwork, and they're doing things around the station to build pride in the station and the crew. If you are a part of a crew that doesn't do that stuff, and you see these guys, you could tell if a crew is really getting it, if they're getting along, if they are close and have pride in who they are. It's very easy to tell. I don't think that's something you can fake. And so if you see that from the outside and you're not a part of a crew that experiences that, man, that turns into something that you want to be a part of pretty quick, or at least I'd hope so, because like I said, it's just fun to be a part of that, fun to enjoy the job. And you know, I've said it several times, and lots of other people say it. You really have to try hard to make this job suck, and if that's the case, which it is, why are you trying hard to make it suck? You know, just come to work with a good attitude, looking to have fun with the men and women you're working with, and do good things. You know, you get to help people any chance that the call comes in, and then when we're not helping people, we get to go back to the firehouse and harass each other all day long about whatever. It's so much more fun. It's like sports. You know, I've heard it said in sports, it's easy to have fun, and it's easy to get along as a team when you're winning. You know, it's when you're losing that's when the problems come up. That's when the friction is starting to get visible and all that. Well, you know, it's probably the same with us, but you know, we can help that. We're not waiting on wins or losses to affect that. You know, that's something that we can do personally, just by bringing a good attitude to the firehouse, just by looking around and seeing what can be done to make things better, just by having a better attitude when you go out and pick somebody off the ground, or you know, everything we do, you know, we have the opportunity to make it great. And really all we're doing is taking advantage of the situation we're blessed with to be firefighters, but we can make it bad if we want to. So taking that opportunity to make it great, I think that's kind of what you're talking about, Taylor, and I agree.
You know, one of the smallest things that I've ever even been a part of on change that had a massive change when it came to culture was coffee around the kitchen table. We not we, but there was a lot of shift change and a lot of interaction that just occurred, and guys left, and then guys and, you know, the crews coming on would, you know, do their truck check and get their stuff done, but never really just sat down and talked to each other for the first 15 minutes of shift. And one of the small things that hadn't occurred in my firehouse was we got our gear on the rig, made sure that everything was good to go, and then we dedicated 15 to 30 minutes. We sat at the kitchen table, we drank a cup of coffee, and discuss world problem, anything going on in their life. And it always, for some reason, turns into fire. We talk about going to fires been to, training. We have a whiteboard in our kitchen, end up drawing up all kinds of diagrams, information, discussing a first do tactic on a certain building. It always turns into something that's centered around our job, just off of just sitting around and talking with each other and checking in and making sure everybody's good to go. And it has had a major influence on how close my current company is. And we've kind of broadened that out, where when we're coming in the morning, we get around with the other guys that we're relieving. And then when we have somebody coming over and working in a relief spot, or, stepping up and working captain when my captain's gone, we sit them down at the kitchen table, have a cup of coffee, check in on them, see how their family's doing. Then we center something around training or around the firehouse. And it has really brought the guys at my station as a whole uh, a lot closer. And it's a really small thing that just wasn't happening. And we started making it happen, and it has had a really good effect.
So I want to touch in here. So, Greg, I really like what you're talking about with the kitchen table thing, because so over here on the volunteer side, we don't have necessarily a kitchen table. We don't have shifts or anything, but shoot, after each call that we go on, we'll hang out at the station for a half hour to an hour and talk about the same kind of stuff. And we just, doesn't matter where we're going, we'll check on everybody of what they are going through in their lives. But yeah, we just ended up still talking about fire at some point. And same thing after training nights, we'll stick around for an hour or two. Some guys get a little crazy and stay around for about 4 hours. But, just end up start talking, and just the way that it brings everybody together, just it helps so much when you don't have either those calls or other connections to some of these guys all the time. Just having that time to sit and talk and just really connect really just makes everything better in the long run. It makes it easier to work together.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and that is something that the part of that change that I just talked about, starting to become visible, is something I've really enjoyed the past couple weeks, is getting more of that. And I think more of what you're speaking of, Greg, is kind of that time change area. And I can honestly say there's not a lot of that at our firehouse. It's pretty much, tell the next crew what happened, what might be wrong, what you might need to do today, and that's about it. Just basic details, and that's about as far as the conversation goes. But as far as within the crew that I'm a part of, dinners have turned into, a couple minutes after everybody's done getting up and being done, to 30, 45 minutes of talking after we get done with dinner, before we're done, or after dinner we're outside and sitting in some lawn chairs, and a couple of the guys have cigars, and just enjoying that time together. And what I will say about that is I've been on 19 years, and obviously in that 19 years I have seen crews that get it, that do that, that spend so much more time together telling stories and laughing and building relationships. And I've also been a part of crews that didn't, and that were very, almost you could say, cold. And to have that and kind of lose it for a while, you almost forget how great that feels. And then when you get it back, like I have here in the past couple of weeks, it makes it so much even more better, because it's like it's almost like a memory that you have completely forgotten about, that all of a sudden comes to you, and it's like, wow, man, I really enjoy this. I'm almost forgotten how much I enjoy this. And so that has been really cool. And there is, hopefully people don't underestimate the power of that kitchen table, because man, it's a real thing. And not only the kitchen table, but a lot of people say the two most important areas of a firehouse are the kitchen table and the front bumper. Wherever it is, if it's a front bumper, if it's the back porch where you got some lawn chairs set up, I don't care where it is, but if you're together and you're sharing bonds, telling stories, building relationships, that is the best and easiest way to create better, stronger, tighter teams right there. And it's very easy. It's just spending some time together. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. Well, why aren't we doing it more? So that's great points.
Man, you guys have taken the words right out of my mouth. Greg started the whole deal. I firmly believe that the most overlooked thing in any firehouse is the kitchen table. And Greg talked about shift exchange and drinking coffee together. And Taylor and Jeremy brought up, Taylor being on the volunteer side, and those people coming back and visiting together. And Jeremy brought up eating dinner together. You want to talk about one of the coolest, easiest ways to build a culture on your shift. I mean, that kitchen table, I'm actually writing a paper right now called From the Kitchen Table to the Training Ground and Everything in Between. And I'm telling you, the kitchen table and the training ground are two of the most solid ways. Volunteer, career, doesn't matter, to build the culture within your organization, big or small. And it's so easy to overlook that stuff. But, I always hear the excuse of, man, I don't have anybody on my shift that knows how to cook. Man, if you're going to screw a meal up, the firehouse is the perfect place to do it, because firefighters, it's like a buddy of mine in Oklahoma City says, we're firefighters. If we can't break it, we'll eat it. If we can't eat it, we'll break it. And it's fun. Joel Milner said that he's from the 7 truck down there in Oklahoma City. But it's so true. I mean, if you're going to screw a mill up, man, a firehouse is the perfect place to do it, because it's going to get ate. And, man, it's just, there's so much good that comes from just sitting down towards the end of your workday and just cooking together and eating together. I've had more laughs at the kitchen table than I have anywhere else in the firehouse. And it's, whether it's breakfast on a Sunday morning or supper on a Tuesday night, it does not matter. But what that does for your culture and what that does for your crew and your people is an amazing thing. And one of the things that I wrote down in that paper I'm writing, that article, is everybody needs to be welcome to it, from the newest recruit to the chief. And it is not a time, and I'm not going to drop the F-bomb, but the kitchen table is not a time where ass chewing start, or where they begin, or where it happens at. The kitchen table is where you sit down as a shift, from the newest recruit to the battalion chief, and if the chief, the company officers, no matter what, it's a time you sit down and you learn about one another, you learn about your families, you learn about what's going on in life, how your kids are doing. That is such a time that you can draw so close together. And as what happens is, you'll start to see that change, and you'll start to see that culture starting to take a different formation. And the next thing you know, guys are getting excited about coming into work, and they're going to start showing up 10 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier, an hour earlier than they were, because they know that what is happening at that kitchen table is starting to transform their shift into something that, you know what, I belong and I've got ownership of this place and in my job, and I'm ready to go to battle with my men. And then you go from the kitchen table, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you guys are, discussing training ideas. Well, then the next shift comes up, and you guys are having some great training. And all that kind of stuff stems from the most simple thing in the firehouse called the kitchen table. And so, man, you guys are spot on. And I just kind of wanted to get in and give my 2 cents worth real quick before the subject change. So kudos to you guys. Much respect.
So, LJ, I really like what you're bringing up with that, and kind of how to make that happen when you don't have that kind of a culture or whatever. But Jeremy, you were saying just a little bit ago of how you lost that and gained it back. Kind of, how did you navigate through that? How did you bring it back once you lost it, or did it just kind of happen on its own?
Yeah. Try to just think
I was gonna say that's kind of a loaded question.
Well, no, we're just trying to kind of think of the Cliff Note version of it, to not go into the giant story. But I came to the station I'm currently at about 3 years ago, and I knew that I had a plan. I had a mission statement, a vision, whatever you want to call it, of the culture that I want to create. Did I know how to do it? Absolutely not. I was just 6 months on as a company officer, very new, very green, and shoot, 3 years later, I'm still trying to figure things out day to day. But I knew that that's the culture. I wanted to create a culture that I wanted to go to. I wanted to have a crew that I loved coming and spending time with, a firehouse that I loved coming to, and the same with the people I worked with. I wanted that for them as well. And so, trying to put things in place and just build relationships and just take advantage of the good things and all that, the whole story. And there was just a lot of negativity brought on by somebody, and that negativity just drove a wedge between my end goal, or not really end goal, but my, I'm trying to, what the term is, my vision of a culture that I wanted. It drove a wedge between that and where we were at, because I could not reach it. I just couldn't. The negativity was just overwhelming, and it was to the point where I just didn't want to. I could not put myself out anymore, because it was sucking the life out of me. And so I found myself spending a lot more time in my office, which I don't do at all. I am up way too late at night doing office stuff, because I spend time during the day out with the crew, because that's what I want to do. I'm okay with being up later at night so that I could take advantage of that time during the day. But anyway, that started to shift, and I started to pull away from that. And dinners became short because nobody wanted to hear the crap that was coming out. And of course, with where the world was kind of last year, it's not hard to get sucked into that negativity, and that the world is falling apart, and everything is bad, and this and that. And so it was just a bad time, just almost like a perfect storm, I'd say. And so to be honest, it took a personnel change to get away from that. And that's it was, don't think for a second it was something I did. I didn't have answers for it. I tried and I tried and I tried to do everything I could to change the situation, but it wasn't working. I could not get through. And so that's what it took to kind of break that wall down, is a personnel change. Bring somebody else in, get rid of that negativity. And that has been a night and day process of just, man, it's great to be with a crew that, okay, yeah, we have a lot of problems at our department. We struggle a lot with, oh gosh, so and so, this is coming down, or a million different things going on. But when you have a crew that is not focused on the negative, when you have a crew that doesn't thrive on that negative, it's very easy to get some negative come in, hit it right in the face, deal with it, get it out of the way, and move on with your day. When you don't have people that are just so sucked into it and ate up with it, and it's almost like they have to have it to survive, then it's easy to deal with it, get it out of the way, move on. And that's kind of what we've gotten back into now. Are the issues still out there? Are the things that bring us down still out there? Absolutely. But we can deal with them. We can hear about them at shift change, talk about them for about 30 minutes at breakfast, and then that's it. And we're not going to allow, either rumors or what this chief or that chief or people that we have no control over are doing ruin our day. We're not going to let that happen. That is not something we are willing to give out anymore. That is something we are going to protect. And so that's kind of the short story of it. Did it have anything to do with me? Absolutely not. It was just me trying to find ways to fix it, and basically as a result of my failure to find ways to fix it, it took a personnel change to change that.
I think that's really just good to hear for a bunch of different people to hear that, just because it doesn't matter how much you do. Sometimes it's nothing you can do to actually change it to make it what you want, and you just got to stick it out and keep trying for that, so that when the actual opportunity comes about, you're already prepared for it. So that was great to hear that little backstory of that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. And something to go along with that was a kind of an epiphany moment for me was, well, I'll back up a little bit. There was a lot of sense of failure with that. There was a lot of just holding on, just trying to do one more thing, just trying to figure out something else to try, just trying to, just trying to find different ways to fix the problem without moving the problem, because I don't want to be that kind of an officer. But like I said, everything was failing, and I started feeling like a failure as a leader, because I sit on here on these podcasts and I write these social media posts about the culture and the positivity, and all that. And then when it comes down to what I'm actually doing, what I'm actually able to kind of create in real life, I was failing, and that led to a lot of just struggles with me trying to work through it. But I came to just the conclusion of this. Oh, I can honestly say I put so much energy into that person. I put more energy into that person than anybody else I've ever honestly say that I have led. And so that being said, sometimes you've taken somebody as far as you can take them. You have done as much good in their life as you can possibly do. It's time to move on. It's time to make a change, because there are so many people out there that need that energy that I'm giving him, that need that time that I'm giving him, that need those, the training that I'm giving him, and that want it. So it's time to move on, make a change, and bring somebody else into that spot that wants to be there, that wants to grow, that wants to learn, that wants to be better. And that's just what I had to kind of be okay with. Is, I tried. I honestly tried my best, and I just know that being said, I can't do any more with him. Maybe he needs another officer, another leader, another group of people to kind of make things click, to be a better change for him. And so anyway, that's I feel like that's important to bring up with that conversation, because it is something that I had to work through. LJ, you got anything to say when we're talking about family stuff? I know when you were a guest on with me on the podcast, we talked a lot about family and making them the priority, and it's such a big deal. And do you have any kind of tips of noticing when that may be becoming an issue, kind of things to look for, so that you're watching yourself so that doesn't become a problem?
Man, it's tough. I mean, I think for, I just said a little bit ago, but, and you said it too, but, anybody that's passionate about the job, we're always going to be bringing stuff home. And there's times that we're going to run those calls, uh, that they just weigh your mind and your heart down, because everything you did didn't matter. And, or I don't say it didn't matter, but in the end result, um, it didn't work out like you wanted it to. But, um, man, every once in a while I come home and, man, my attitude is horrible, uh, and I'm just like, why, But I'm very fortunate to have a a wife who is, my goodness, that woman is beyond strong. And my kids, it's pretty easy. 99.9% of the time when I come home from the firehouse, um, my kids and my wife are just so excited to see me. And so I'm very fortunate to have a very, very solid home life, um, that they just, they just, when I come home and I'm in one of them moods, they just kind of shrug it off. And that's not an excuse for me, and, or an excuse for me. It's just, I'm very fortunate to have that. And there's times that my wife will kind of give me that look. The wives are pretty good at giving it times. Um, but we, as firefighters, we have got to make sure that our home lives are where they need to be, because Greg said a little bit ago, man, without family, our jobs mean almost nothing, because my wife and my kids are the backbone of my job. And having them finally be able to, they just got to come up to the firehouse for the first time yesterday in well over a year now, and have them up there. And we went out in the front yard and played catch with a baseball and a football. And we ended up having to run a bad incident as soon as they were getting ready to leave, and involved kids, of course. And, just having them there yesterday, I'm just so grateful for my family, because I couldn't do it without them. I mean, they are a saving grace so many times. And, we really need to be thinking about our families a lot more. And I really hope that in parts of the country, there's more of these conferences that are introducing marriage seminars and just family aspects of of the fire service. Because I really, you look at the divorce rate in the fire service, and it is way, way, way too high. And if we could if we could start incorporating that in more of these conferences and making a difference, man, that is something that I would absolutely love to see. But man, just hang on to them families and love this job, and man, just stay humble. And I don't know, man, I'm beyond blessed. That's all I can say.
I hear you, man. I hear you. The my wife and I will be going to Command Officer Boot Camp in Pensacola in May. So you bring up that family aspect of conferences, and that's something we're excited about, especially since we were supposed to go last year and it got canceled. So that was going to be something that we were looking forward to quite a bit, and it got canceled. So excited to be able to make that up this year here in a couple months. So that's a good point. We kind of make it easier to keep those connections between family when you are still involved with work. That's a great thing. You talked about having a great family and being supportive and being just excited to see you. I think that what needs to be said with that is that doesn't just happen. You have put work in to them to create that. Just like I talked about the relationships, building them within the crew, and everybody else talked about the kitchen table and that type of that. It's basically the same thing at work. Well, if you don't spend the time with them, if you don't build those relationships at home, you're not going to have that. And so, like you talked about, some of the things that we deal with, we see on and on. We need that at home, and that being the case, we have got to do the work so that it is there at home. It doesn't just happen on its own. We have got to put in the work to create that and to take advantage of that, because it's up to us just like everything else. So I appreciate you saying that. Well, Greg or Taylor or LJ, I'm gonna kind of start wrapping it up right now. Do you have anything to say to kind of end it out, or words that you didn't get a chance to say yet?
I think just overall, just make sure whatever part you're in your life now, whatever you're focused on, whether you're at home, be at home in that moment. If you're at work, be at work in that moment. The more we can actually be all in on whatever we're doing and not spread ourselves so thin, I think it's just going to make it easier on us, on our families, on our crews, with everybody overall. So that's the only thing I got to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has covered everything that I can really think of. I try to include my family as much as possible, and we work for a relatively small fire department. So all of my guys at work, their families are around each other quite a bit, but I bring my family up to the firehouse any chance we get. We live on a ranch outside of where I work, so anytime that they're coming into town, they come by the firehouse. My kids come in and out all the time, and it's just a great family atmosphere with the group of guys that I'm working with. They look after my kids just like they would be their own whenever they're running around the firehouse. So it's great that I can include my family and I can have my family up there, and my family feels included. And, it's just like going to the second home whenever they get to come by. So I think that's such an important thing. And I think it's great. It creates a great environment, and it helps with everything. So, and on that note, that's what I've got when it comes to family and fire service. And anybody out there that's struggling right now with keeping their motivation or running into walls, just keep listening to this kind of stuff. Keep reaching out to guys like Jeremy, and stay motivated, and don't let the walls run you down too hard, because there is another day. And stay focused on the small stuff, and the bigger stuff kind of comes around if you just take care one day at a time and stay focused on you and enjoy the job, enjoy everything about what you're doing, and strive to be the best at where you've put yourself and the people that you're serving.
Thanks, Greg. Taylor, that's good stuff. I appreciate your input quite a bit. LJ, you have anything else to say, or is that your closing thoughts there?
No, this was great stuff, man. I'm really glad I got to get on this and to hear aspects and inputs from everybody else. Man, that's how we learn and man, build relationships, get at those outside trainings and network and build relationships outside of your department. And man, I can't tell you how important it is to have those 5 or 6 guys like I've got that I'm just able to call. Matter of fact, Jeremy and I just talked text message 2 or 3 weeks ago about some stuff. And man, it's so good to have people that you can just call and rely on when things are going downhill a little bit. But man, most of all, be humble and work your tail off and just enjoy this job, love your family, and because we dang sure ain't guaranteed tomorrow, that's for sure. So man, I hope I get to meet a bunch of you at trainings one of these days. And Jeremy, I got to get down. I'm down in Oklahoma in May, so we got to get together, and we'll be heading to Missouri in July.
Awesome.
And I am stoked about that. So I hope everyone's doing good, staying safe, loving the job, and just keep on keeping on. So thanks for your guys' time.
Thank you. I appreciate your input, LJ, Greg, and Taylor. This is kind of the first time it's actually went to plan, I think. I'll have to check the audio when we get done. Hopefully it recorded as it looks like it did. I'm excited to actually get it to working, hopefully. So thank you for your time, everybody out there. I very much appreciate it. I love having these little conversations and look forward to each and every one of them. So appreciate that and look forward to the next one. So thank you and have a great week. And like I like to say, stay humble and do work. See you guys. I want to say thank you to Woods Forcible Entry Door Kits for promoting and being a sponsor of the program, making it possible to do this and to be able to reach as many people as we're doing. I very much appreciate that. Look forward to seeing everybody out there. Got a couple things coming up here in the future that want to make sure that we talk about. Remember the fall, and I'm looking at my notes real quick. I want to make sure I say it right here. The Honor the Fallen Conference, sorry about that. Central Plains Honor the Fallen Fire Conference, and that is in June. Be I'm trying to think of what days it is. I believe the 4th through 6th, but they have a Facebook page out there, so get on there, check that out. It is called the Honor the Fallen Fire Conference Facebook page. Look that up, and it is June 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's got a great lineup of people that somehow I snuck my way into. Some big names, and I know he's working on getting some great hot classes set up as well right now. So going to be some good stuff. In addition to that, we will be out in Missouri July 16th through the 18th at the Revolutionary Fire Tactics at the Lake Conference. And so if you haven't heard anything on that, go ahead and check out either their Facebook page or any of my social media. You'll find links or just information on those as well. So feel free to check any of those out. Come meet us when we're out there, and look forward to seeing everybody out there, and I appreciate your time. Until next time, thank you very much.